JunJia J4, unless you really want to make it pay. Ash going to be an interesting ban as well, floated on there. Maybe just trying to deny any sort of Seraphine shenanigans. Also, maybe AL showing that they want to play weaker on the bottom side here. Get rid of one of the strongest 2v2 AD carries we currently have right now with that Ash in tote. But no matter where this ban goes, the Ezreal you point out may still be up. Rumble's still going to be up and available. We have stuff like, all right, so the Bard's going to go away. So Ezreal, Rumble, like these are two of the picks that immediately come to my mind here for AL.
I'd be shocked if they don't pick Ezreal. It's just been what they've done all split long. Every single time that champ is up, they just lock it in first pick. We'll see Karma is available, Rumble is available. We talked about Ryze as well being on the board. It's actually the Karma that they're going to prioritize. They almost certainly just want this Ezreal Karma lane. We'll see if JDG want to give it to them, though. Ezreal is very flexible as an AD carry in this meta. Can play with almost any support in the game right now, just depending on what you want to do. Nico in particular stands out to me as something that is still available on the map if you want to go towards that as a bot lane partner for the Ezreal, but with Varus up, with, you know, again, things like Rumble and Ryze, maybe you just want to prioritize other parts of the map first.
Ryze is an interesting topic that I'm sure we'll be able to talk about, maybe talk about some, especially thinking on the new patch, right? With the fact that we've lost access to Phase Rush. So I personally see a lot of Ryze priority really take a nosedive, but Shanks is definitely a guy that would love to try and at least make it work, maybe try out that Deathfire touch. We'll get to that. We'll get there at a certain point here, because I don't think we're going to see mid laners anytime soon. AL are going to get exactly what they want here. They're going to slam that Ezreal for hope. The question is, how much do JDG want to try and scrap back in this lane with the Varus? They're looking to scrap. So they're going to throw down the Nautilus and Varus. This has been, you know, Nautilus plus an aggro AD carry has been an answer to stuff like we've seen with Ashe Seraphine to try and disrupt them. This is a tough task, though, for Vampire, I would say.
I think this is a really hard Nautilus game already. Like, I know it's Karma, but they're likely going to lock in something really safe on the bot side, whether it's Ezreal or even something like a Jhin. I expect it to be Ezreal. I would just be stunned if it's not that pick, but like they're definitely going to lock something safe in on the bottom side. So Nautilus kind of needs to be a big playmaker for this team. The reason that gets a little bit scary is because Not really only has one mode, and you're playing into Karma, who's just going to body you in the 2v2. So you've set yourself up to be in a tough position in the laning phase, and Vi is going to have a ton of priority. This Nautilus basically needs to find mid-game plays, or he's essentially just going to go in and die in the late game.
You know, I am very iffy on Vi picks. I think this champion was grossly overestimated for a lot of the meta. So when I say this, I think it really hits home. I actually already like the Vi angle. It's simply for the fact that, like you talked about, Nautilus doesn't function as he can peel, but he's always about going forward. And that's an immobile AD carry for Gala here. That's easy pickings for this cease and desist combo down on, you know, True Shot Barrage or whatever Shanks wants to pair up in the mid lane. Nonetheless, JDG do get a really big, you know, power point here as well, Kman. They get the B3 Rumble for Xiaoxu.
I think Rumble was simply too good to not take. One of the things I was actually really interested in seeing is if they were going to flex that Varus to the top side. Xiaoxu was yet to have a Varus game this split, but I don't really love the way Varus fits in the bot lane right now. Going into Ezreal, you can't really punish the super poke lane of Karma and Ezreal, and this Nautilus is basically going to be abandoning this low mobility ADC, so I was curious to see if they wanted to flex it, but Rumble, again, just too strong in the meta right now to give over for free, and they clearly didn't want to spend a ban on it. Now the question is, how do you match this Vi's pressure in the mid game? Are you saying you got it, like you can have all of this tempo at level 6, you can find those engages and we'll play for late games? Because I think that's totally possible with Rumble and Varus. Or do you feel like you need to pick something that can contest it, like the Xin, like the Pantheon that are still left up on the board? I like the top lane bans to protect the Rumble a little bit here, but it's really going to come down to jungle, how this JDG comp really kind of rounds itself out.
I'm a little bit curious that AL weren't just trying to think about targeting some of these junglers. I guess there's some respect over to HongQ, who I do think right now, form-wise, is the best player we're going to have on the Rift, bar none. So taking away some of his comfort picks, that's fine, but I guess that's the angle. They're more scared of HongQ than JunJia. Not a bad idea, to be honest.
I think especially with things like Nocturne already banned out, things that can really break the game, it makes a lot of sense for the mid lane priority to be there. I mean, these are the two most played champions for HongQ throughout the split, and they're really the two big macro threats. Now, Taliyah did get buffed on this patch. She hasn't really found herself back into the meta yet. I think she's incredibly strong. Yeah, I'm shocked that we're not seeing more Taliyah priority, if I'm being honest, in terms of where that champ is at. I still think it's very playable right now. The question is, do you want to pull something like that out here blind, or do you want to go for something that's more setup-based? And the Annie is going to be the lock-in. This, to me, signals that you are going for something in the jungle that can really dive itself in to follow through on this Nautilus Annie combo.
we're really going to need it, right? Because, like, right now, the best style fight is layering these CC ultimates for an equalizer, but I don't necessarily know how reliable that's going to be, especially in a fight setup for AL, where they're not really ever going to be that bunched together, right? Ezreal's really fluid in his movements. Karma, shields, and speed-ups is very fluid. The Vi also jumping forward. Cassiopeia and Vi. Thoughts? I don't immediately like the look of this.
We've seen this combo quite a bit from JDG, I believe, in particular, but Shanks obviously a long-time Cassio player. Somebody that was playing it many years ago on WE when he first started his career, so certainly comfortable with the champ. Too. It's going to be the Aurora locked in for Flandre. You're absolutely right. You know, top lane dominance coming in here. This very much signals the direction they want to go. They have a poke lane on the bottom side. They have late game scaling in the mid lane. They have Vi for setup, and you've got Aurora diving the back line. This is a greedy, aggressive, dangerous comp from AL that requires execution. That's very, very interesting considering how this team has played team fights. And then a Nefiri is going to be the final lock-in. We talked about needing that dive, needing to be able to go forward. Nefiri absolutely has that potential and really is going to be able to skyrocket that game forward for that game plan forward for JDG. Both of these comps spike in the mid game. I'm really going to be excited to see who makes plays first.
Yeah, we're just full no scale. We just throw. I mean, what? Like, I guess Cassiopeia is our best scaling champion that we have available in this game state. Really interesting about this jungle matchup, I do want to say. 2 jungle picks in game 1 that are we're not very used to seeing from either of our junglers, right? This is going to be just, I believe, the 3rd Vi game for Tarzan of the year. Just his first one of the split. And then JunJia has not played Nefiri this split and only has 1 single Nefiri game all of this year. So interesting with how we talk about Fearless. Both of our junglers are going on some less traveled paths for this game 1.
Very different roads for these two in terms of how they normally like to play, these two teams in particular. Like I said, mid-game dominance is going to matter a lot. I think both of these teams, quite frankly, spike in very particular ways. This Annie-Nefiri combo is going to be so dangerous to play. If they can find those picks early, that's going to delay a lot of the power spikes coming in from the other side, even from the Cassio, but specifically the poke from Ezreal, from Karma, and then Vi full engaging after you're able to put that down could be basically unstoppable for a team that has no real, like, way to peel outside of Nautilus. This is a game that's going to live on the knife's edge for its entire runtime, and that's going to be really exciting.
Excitement palpable in the air. A playoff spot on the line. Game 1, JDG AL. Okay, so that was the most guttural crew leading I've ever heard for the Jindal. Like, that was so guttural. Yes. I love that. But then AL were so loud with the fans that they were like peeking the microphone. So either they're close enough to the microphones or they're louder. All I know is both fandoms are locked in for this series, Kman.
Well, if I'm a fan of either of these two teams, I'm showing up today. I mean, this is a massive series for both of them. This is the day to go to the arena. Is if you win, you're in. You get playoffs, you guarantee your spot. This is obviously a massive test as well for both of these two teams, considering the form that they've been in lately. It's really going to be important for both of them to at least look good here today, and pick up a win, obviously, would really cement them as one of the best teams, and maybe even, you know, the team to kind of favor going to MSI out of the top 2. So really big matchup for both of these sides. JunJia already doing something a little bit aggressive here, getting that invade off and stealing that blue away.
And I think I really like this for JunJia because you really stressed how Karma Ezreals could really have their way with this lane, that Vampire and Gala would have to play decently safe and sack decent amount of resources. But what can really relieve that ailment is just having your jungler constantly on the strong side. Tarzan's already trying to bust this open, though, and he has an idea, once he sees his blue buff stolen away, that JunJia has to be somewhere, but he is a little bit too late to this place. Kael's actually going to flash early to get on top of JunJia. The tether is not available just yet, so that flash and heal all to protect Hope for that cheeky 3-cap gank, as Tarzan's Vault Breaker falls just a bit short to punish that, to repunish. So everyone's going to go back to their own quadrants. Well, actually, maybe not Tarzan.
Yeah, I don't think so.
He is angry about losing his camps here, Kman.
I think Tarzan wants a little bit more. This Vi wants to keep skirmishing. There's no way Nefiri can step up, and JDG's bot lane's under tower.
Oh, but JunJia, I think the smite was early from Tarzan, and the auto came through for JunJia. So he actually gets that camp. I'm pretty sure he got the big Krug. So Tarzan moves up over to his red buff. This is classic LPL shenanigans. We are forcing our bottom lanes to sack very important waves so our junglers can fight over a red buff. Luckily, we didn't get that classic LPL fight over the red buff at level 3 Kman, but man, just so many resources for these darn camps.
Double red for double blue. Who actually ends up winning there? It's up to you to kind of decide who ends up getting that victory. Vi so much stronger for Vampire. Punishing the flash was Kael.
There's no heal on Kael as well. Oh my god, did that arrow just go wide? Did Gala really miss that piercing arrow? I'm pretty sure he did. It could have been a kill.
Goodness.
What do you know about the no sidestep to sidestep? That's the classic strategy we just saw there from Kael.
You predict that they're going to dodge, and you predict that they predict that you're going to dodge, so you don't dodge.
All right,
you got it.
Nolan,
Yeah.
I'm not here to watch Inception, dude. Okay, I'm not here to watch.
Sure.
You have the idea that you're going to dodge this way, but I made the idea to you that I actually have the idea that I'm. Yeah, see, like this is a rabbit hole. It's too early in the series for us to go down this rabbit hole, Kman.
Yeah, too much going on there. This game has already been super, super chaotic, and quite frankly, I don't know if it benefits either of these two sides. I think it's specifically notable that Kael has no flash, and I expect there to continuously be pressure onto the bottom side. It certainly limits what the Ezreal Karma can do in the laning phase, but we're not even close to hitting those level 6 power spikes just yet coming in from the junglers. That's when I expected a lot of this action to tick up, and right now, it's just going to be roams coming in from the supports, despite the lack of summoners.
Maybe the biggest winner here is Gala, and the fact that he gets through those first couple of waves, gets through those early levels, and he takes the TP Summoner spell, so he's not punished for taking non-combat, and he gets first access to this next wave. He's going to force Hope to lose out on a couple of these minions. I don't believe it's going to be a cannon wave, but he's got the wave state really well positioned here in some critical levels that we talked about for this 2v2. So I guess Gala comes away as the best winner.
Certainly, I mean, if you're going to be up at all as Varus Nautilus, now is the time to be up in the laning phase. It allows Nautilus to be more aggro in the mid game here as you get closer and closer to that level 4. As your junglers are hitting that level 6, it just creates more action on the map. Shanks also level 6 here, and is going to use the ult for basically nothing in the mid lane.
I don't hate it. He saw the cannon minion, and HongQ was either going to have to throw the stun for the cannon minion or stun him and give up the cannon minion, so he thought, oh, he's going to face me. And, well, the timing didn't just work out, but luckily, that ultimate punishment shouldn't be too bad, except for the fact that HongQ gets a lot more value out of his, trading back into Shanks. Now these mid laners do have teleport, so a slight HP lead here for HongQ in this current wave state. Do have that first dragon up as well, but with how weird these jungle starts were, I think we're just looking towards grubs in 2 minutes for both these junglers.
I don't know. We're seeing a lot of pings come down from AL. Shanks might even be looking aggressive here in the mid lane. AL are first on this. It looked like JDG actually had the push on the bottom side for Nautilus to be able to move up, but they decide against it, even with the mid lane priority as well. Looks like they just wanted to make sure they got vision over this dragon, recognizing that this would be a very, very difficult fight for them to take at this point. I think it's wise to back off of this for anyone's legend, to continue to farm up, and as you pointed out, Slayer, to play for those grubs, to play for that big fight, where I think it's really important to make sure that you're not giving those over for free. JDG, with that bot lane priority that they have earned on the 2v2, are at least going to invade into the river here at first. Gala is level 6. That would be the spike to try and take a fight around here, but we'll see how aggressive they want to play it.
And we just saw, our observers showed, that second Scuttle Crab respawn. That's really important, because JunJia gets that uncontested. He gets his level 6 off of that we usually see very heavily contested for ultimates coming online, whereas Tarzan has to go to his Krugs to try and get closer to level 6. He's actually going to need to use his second respawn of Raptors to get over to level 6. So right now, JunJia, after all the shenanigans of that, weird jungle path, he's going to get a cleaner reset. He's up in XP and is much better positioned for these grubs in about a minute.
Love that. I mean, Vibe getting put behind in tempo is bad. It's really catastrophic for anyone's Legends comp because they require the Vi to be the initiator and the facilitator for these plays to happen. And this is really the spike that you want to play around. Once you hit level 6 coming in from Vi, like that's when your map opens up. That's when your world expands for anyone's Legend. To not have those tools that maybe even a Neferi would have on the other side certainly makes you feel a bit more passive and kind of encourages you to go into this mid game being a little bit more scared, especially with Gala having that small lead on the bottom side. JunJia now on this side of the map. We will see if he wants to actually start up this dragon or if he just continues to kind of cover for his very low mobility ADC.
Well, Xiaoxu is definitely getting a lot of control topside near these grubs as they will hit the rifts shortly. Does have teleport, but doesn't have access to that equalizer, while Flandre has been able to hold on to his Between Worlds. We'll see if he decides to just TP back towards top. I think it's just too expensive for him to even try to work his way bottom lane for this dragon. So both top laners, maybe Xiaoxu will be available if anything kicks off down here with that TP advantage, but definitely showing right now, both these junglers are aptly positioned around the bottom side of the map, leading their AD carries to their own devices, so we're going to see both supports kind of just leave their AD carries on their own, and that's kind of what we should expect with the Varus Ezreal matchup.
Yeah, it's a very clinical League of Legends here, as they're just going to trade these objectives. Neferi going to make their way up to the grubs and basically trade those mid lane ultimates down as the Vi takes the dragon. I think this is an okay trade overall, but I favor the dragon pretty heavily in this exchange. I think starting to stack those objectives and making sure that you have an area to fight over as you continue to go later on into the game, especially as a comp with so much poke, it really lets you control so much of the bottom river and gives you priority over what is likely going to be some of the most game-deciding fights.
And on top of that, Kman, in a rare game where we don't feel like scaling's a huge factor, you can just make up for that with the scaling aspect of a lot of these powerful dragons, right? Mountain Soul is definitely, you know, Mountain and Hextech being the two that do come off the board without his soul does kind of stink for these conversations, but stuff like Chemtech Soul in these closer fights is really valuable. Infernal Soul to give you some extra burst when you feel like the damage isn't necessarily scaling as well for an Ezreal or a Varus. Like, these are going to be very important souls in this game state. So I'm with you. I think this first dragon is a lot more valuable when you also factor in there isn't like a huge split pushing threat on either of these teams. So Grub's value is a little bit lower in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, it really is kind of a poke versus engage comp if you want to simplify things down with Nautilus and even the the Annie wanting to find those free engages, and of course the other side wanting to try and get as much damage as possible down. And both of those comps want to control river, they want to control vision, so having those dragons stacked is really important. For now, no objectives to play for. That makes it even more interesting to ask, what are you going to do with this Vi ultimate? Where are you going to put this Vi in the mid game? Because if you can get some extra gold onto these priority targets, Shanks is already up 500 gold just individually in the laning phase. You start to accelerate this Cassiopeia, things can actually get pretty scary in the mid game.
And while we always talk about with Vi, how those early levels, pre-6, it's like nice to kind of just get some power farm, be protected. At a certain point, while our two junglers, I agree with you, Kman, kind of spike with their value around mid-game, around like 1 to 2 items, allowing an Neferi to just constantly power farm camps on rotation, respawn on and on, that does kind of accelerate this very, very reliable damage tool for JDG. So this window is where I'd like to see Tarzan, like you're mentioning, be a lot more proactive on the map, because we can't just let JunJia go top-down clear with no sort of punishment, right?
Certainly, you don't want this Neferi to basically get out of control for free, and that's why you feel like you need to keep the pressure up. I understand maybe feeling comfortable because of Cassio and even the Aurora on the top side, who is going to be a bit of a problem in the late game, but let's talk about these teams in particular. AL, while they're clinical, they are more comfortable in these slower-paced games. That was what they did a lot of last year, is play more for these mid-game power spikes. JDG, we talked about JunJia being so good on the Jarvan. One of the reasons for that is because this team is so much more comfortable when they actually get to control the map, and when they start playing more aggro. When they get passive, they start to really let off the gas way too much. I want to see this team continue to play forward, even if they have a comp with a Neferi that generally can scale into the late game.
Well, Kman, only thing going forward is the rate that the creeps are spawning at and the camps are respawning at. We're 11.5 minutes into this game, and we have yet to see not just a kill, but like anybody below. We've had one guy below 20% HP. It was Kael. There was one flash that's been burned by this point. So a really somewhat surprising slow pace to this game. Like you mentioned, Kman, slightly because of what we expect from JDG, but also, again, stressing the draft here. It's not like we're playing Aphelios versus, Yunara in the bot lane, and we're playing Ryze Azir mid, and we're playing double tank topside. Like, these are champions that are looking to scrap once their ultimates come online. So we're just waiting to see if something will kick off. When can those timers potentially be, Kman? We got another dragon about a minute and a half, Herald a minute after that. We might be waiting until about that point in the game, it feels like.
Yeah, the dragon is likely going to be the next major objective. I think the big reason why they're playing so safe is because both do realize that these comps come online in the mid game, and they're scared to make that big mistake that could bust the game wide open. You know, when you have a deathless game for so long, you don't want to be the team that breaks first. You don't want to be the one that lets the floodgates open. And I think that that is the mentality that both of these teams are playing with. But eventually, someone's going to have to cave. Someone's going to have to make that play. Whether it's HongQ with his flash available on this Annie, being able to find a stun with Vampire, or if it's Tarzan just pulling the trigger on that Vi engage, someone's going to have to just say, hey, now is the time. We're going to make this play happen. I agree with you. It's likely going to be in around 45 seconds around this dragon, as we can already see, especially anyone's legend setting up for it.
Well, let's take stock of these first items to really emphasize maybe who we feel a bit more pro towards breaking out this first fight, right? We see the Liamdries has been completed here for HongQ. It's going to be a Roa build here coming across for Shanks on the other side. So both these guys are going to just look to scale up. Shanks actually doesn't get his first item done here thanks to the tier, so... Oh, no, there he goes. He gets the Roa done.
Yeah.
So, not a lot of power on the mid laners. Maybe, you know, it's like we're basically looking at junglers. And, the Yomu's is just completed here for Gala, but we do have the Triforce on the other side for Hope, so I guess it's kind of pick your poison. Again, don't think first items right now are super swaying a 5v5 that, seems to be a brewing. All right, there we go. Ball breaker forward into the cease and desist. They send Tarzan really deep to make this play. Petrifying Gaze is not going to stun anybody up, but Shanks tries to get around towards the fight. Good use from JunJia to go untargetable to get out of that Shanks ultimate. Flash forward comes across from Vampire. The Dreadlight lands onto Shanks. Flandre off to the side, though, chunking a ton of people low. It's first blood to Hope as Xiaoxu sacrifices himself to find that second kill. Flash forward from Flandre. Not enough damage to kill off HongQ. But it's a 2-for-1 win here for AL, and they have first access to that dragon we knew everybody was going to fight over.
Both teams throw everything at the wall in that fight. They recognize that if they're able to win it, then they can get control of so much of this game. AL in particular, being able to pick up the win by doing a great job of going backwards. They start the fight, and they also end the fight on their heels. We're going to get a replay of how this happens. Tarzan just sees that Annie is caught out, recognizing that Annie is probably the most consistent form of engage. Using that flash to go backwards does bring Tarzan into a scary spot, and you might be worried about the lack of damage profile here. But look at the positioning of Flandre in this fight. He's completely untouched onto the backline. Xiaoxu is so aggro. Even though Shanks gets hit by the hook, he takes so much damage down onto Vampire that when he goes backwards, he just needs to make sure that he can let Flandre be able to clean up the rest of the fight, the rest of the kills, and the rest of the map here is, we might have broken everything open now at Rift Herald.
Okay, man, we ripped the Band-Aid off. Now everybody's down to scrap the LPL way. Herald position is pretty important here. Tarzan has to relinquish control of that pit with that Vault Breaker, but now that they've slid Shanks over, we have Flandre leaning here, so AL has all 5 members strong. They're going to play for this Rift Herald. JDG, they can give this, but they're looking to still try and fight around it. JunJia's going to go on target to get away from a Vault Breaker. There's the Equalizer to try and sneak a steal, but Tarzan will secure the Herald and get the eye as HongQ has TP'd in here to a late fight, but Shanks is getting caught trying to work his way back out here. Shanks he's just dead. He has to be the casualty to pay for that Rift Herald, and that's all AL will have to give up.
I mean, it's egregious positioning from Shanks, but I think he recognizes that he kind of has to do it in order to secure that Herald. Fine, if you want to feel like that trade is worth it, that is your prerogative. I'm not so certain that that is a trade you want to be making, especially because look at where the gold is going. It's going onto the Rumble. The Herald is immediately going to get dropped. This will be an injection for AL. Are they going to get this tower?
I kind of like this. They see the overload towards top side here from Xiaoxu. Tarzan's looking to fight on JunJia. Cease and desist comes down. Big shield and flash has to come out from JunJia. As the Between Worlds is dropped from Flandre. Another Vault Breaker for JunJia, able to dodge on out of that one. But AL, I do like the proactivity. They're able to get that very valuable mid-tier 1 turret down. But it will ultimately be traded. As JunJia is still poking and prodding around the edges of these fights, trying to control his own jungle. But finally, we will calm things down.
This is the problem to me with JDG letting this game be as passive as it was in the early game. It has not really nothing to do with their comp. I understand wanting to be in a position where you feel comfortable playing the map, you feel like you scale well, the Rumble's getting gold, all of that's well and good. JDG as a team do not play as well on the back foot as they do on the front foot, and we are seeing that when they are reactive to these plays. They are slower and they are less clinical than they ever are when they get to decide where these plays happen. It's certainly not the end of the world. Gold is entirely tied. That gold lead being on Rumble is important, but AL have really dictated where these fights happen throughout the entirety of the game up until this point, and at some point, JDG is going to have to put their foot down and find the angle they want for these engages.
Yeah, it really feels like Tarzan is dictating this game to his tempo, which, again, is a nice sign here for AL, as through all their struggles this split, the constant success story of AL is playing through Tarzan's big old brain. That's what they did a lot of last year in the highest levels competition. So while we do have, again, 2 junglers relying on champions, they've rarely gotten to this split. It's definitely, you can definitely tell how comfortable Tarzan feels right now, at least in the game, dictating tempo with this vibe.
Definitely comfortable opening up the map and generally utilizing that Vi ultimate well. The question still remains. Now with summoners kind of being blown on both sides, JunJia has no flash, Xiaoxu has no flash. These are very important cooldowns for JDG. Do you feel aggressive enough to pull the trigger when you actually have that flash available on the Vi around one of these fights? Over a minute on this Ocean Dragon, it means a lot of those major summoner spells are going to be back and available for JDG once this fight comes around. Do you feel the need to kind of make a play happen before then, or are you willing to wait? That is going to be the big question. Again, JDG feel like they've been on the back foot in terms of decision-making, but they also have plenty of tools. HongQ in a side lane could potentially try and make something happen here. For now, feels like the game's gone back down to a stalemate with nothing on the map to fight for.
We do have both junglers paying their visit back towards the bottom lane, but yeah, just fighting for vision. So, Kman, that does give us maybe a bit of time to talk about. We kind of stress the fact that in a not very scale-heavy game, Dragon Soul is very important. Do you think we've gotten some of the wind taken out of our sails with an Ocean Soul up here for AL, or what's the vibe in this game with an Ocean Soul on tap?
If there's a comp that likes Ocean Soul, it might be Aurora, Cassio, Karma, right? Like this is a soul that actually really is good for AL. I know Ocean Soul has fallen off in terms of the priority with some of the nerfs coming its way, but this is still a very good thing for AL to have these long drawn-out extended fights. It lets them poke even easier because they're not losing the mana, and they can heal up basically any poke that comes down from the other side in holding the river. The question is, can JDG find that full engage?
Set right back up in the same spot where our only action has really come down onto the rift. Soul point up here for AL, and they are first onto the dragon. Vampire, good dredge line, but I love that interaction from Hope. Cancels out the hook with that arcane shift. Keep your eyes on JunJia, trying to find a flank of his own. It's a pincer maneuver here. Xiaoxu on the top side, JunJia coming from the bottom. He hops into the pit and forces Tarzan out. There's the between rolls used from Flandre, trying to get some extra poke damage down. Vampire's going to commit the heal to try and get some extra healing. There's the equalizer down, trying to trap AL in the pit. JunJia's going to secure the dragon, and it's a huge engage from Vampire. The petrifying gaze is too little, too late from Shanks, and JDG walk down all of the pandas, and now it's time to hunt the stragglers. Great vault breaker, cease and desist interrupt from Tarzan. The untargetable will not save JunJia. Hope finds that kill, but it's immediately traded right back out. JDG finally stamped their mark on this game 1.
And that is the fight they were looking for. Tarzan's gonna go down here as well to Gala. It's even more in favor of JDG. What an unbelievable turn of events. It's a perfect fight from them. We're gonna get a replay of this. This has been the kryptonite for anyone's legend throughout all of this split. I highlighted this in the pre-show. They just are not connected in terms of fighting around these neutral objectives. Tarzan goes in to look for a steal, but you are the team that's on the front foot, and you leave your entire backline available for the Nautilus to be able to snipe down. This has been their biggest issue. They consistently separate. They are never playing as a unit around these objectives. Whatever the plan is, it's not coming together as a group, and AL might have just paid an entire game for it, as a 2K gold lead is now on the side of JDG with the gold in the perfect places.
So what I'm hearing from you, Kman, is that last play is going to be very visible on the endgame gold graph, safe to say?
I think so. You know what? I think it's a fair call.
Fair call? Yeah, because that was a huge gold swing, and you can see also in the prediction aspect of what we call the AI supercomputer, trying to dictate how it feels this game's going out. There's also a pretty major swing going on in there. Our observers have an inkling that some sort of fight was going to come out, but thank you. I want to see, how did JDG cash in that big fight win? Well, you got Gala that's, close to the more mana power spike. You've got a 2-item rumble by this point for Xiaoxu. So the items are starting to really show up for JDG. And AL, maybe, a stench of desperation the way they're just hard invading into JunJia's camp. But there's the flash of the Vault Breaker. The dash on the wall gets JunJia some safety from the cease and desist. And here comes the turn for Xiaoxu. Drops the equalizer. Tarzan gets right back out over the wall, but a really aggressive look there from Tarzan.
Yeah, he really wants to try and find this Neferi. I understand you feel like you desperately need to pull some gold back somewhere, and trying to catch out a champion is important. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Look at the bot wave pushing in. It's not getting caught. It's dying for free. You've lost all tempo on the map. You're losing your mid lane tower. You're going on a champion that can go completely untargetable. these are desperation plays. This is what we were seeing out of AL when they lost to Ninjas in Pajamas earlier this week. We were seeing a team that was making desperation plays way too early into the game and just not really understanding where they can start to pull back small resources, and they're getting punished for it. I really, really want to highlight Xiaoxu right now. He is enormous on this Rumble, and quite frankly, these team fights have been gorgeous from him. The equalizer in the previous fight landing on 4 members and completely destroying all of anyone's legend when they got separated. If that happens again, this game is over. You have to be tracking the top side of the map.
Xiaoxu, you know, he had his bright moments when he got the big call up for JDG to take over top side. Felt like split one, he really was able to shine, but we're going to really have to start having conversations about Xiaoxu as a bona fide star top laner. He is scaling as the year goes on.
One of the things that I've been most impressed by is that Xiaoxu was known as a laning-focused player throughout a majority of his career. Even at the beginning of this year, it was always, oh, he gets big leads in lane. Oh, he's so good in the early game, but he needs to come around in team fights. He has been essential towards the team fights, not just in this game, but in this split for JDG. That development has come along. He's become one of the best top laners in the LPL in terms of the complete package, and he's really putting it on display in this game.
And you can see that we also seen the comfortability come through as well, and the trust that Tabe has in this player with how we already highlighted his unique champion pool. But it's time to focus in towards the Baron pit as both our teams are setting up around here. We have a TP coming in here as Tippers gets dropped. The stun doesn't land on a Flandre. Chains of Corruption also going to stun him up. He just gets poked down. It does get rid of Jindon Gaming's 2 engage tools. There's the Equalizer also used there for very little value except kind of backing AL off of this Baron pit.
I do like the aggression from AL. They're trying to control the area because they do have that poke comp and they want to try and make sure that JDG are walking into them. The problem is you just don't have the gold right now. You don't have the stats to be able to make that happen, especially if you're not landing the engage from Tarzan when you do find the angle onto a potential Rumble. At this point, it really is just a standoff. Do you want to rush Baron, or in 30 seconds do you want to wait for this dragon to spawn? AL is opting into that dragon. They're even TPing to get this river priority and the vision down.
Shanks' damage is still far from being online, especially compared to HongQ's itemization, so there is still a pretty clear lack of damage, especially in that mid lane department, just the nature of going the Seraphs and the Roa. But like you talked about, positioning is key for AL. Now let's see how much value Hope can get done here, the Karma can get done here to try and chunk away these very brash engage tools.
And he has flash available. Watch for that HongQ engage.
Did it last time, started off that big fight with Vampire that got them the win onto the Dragon. JunJia loving that Ocean Soul brush in the pit. He could just sit here and be a menace. Daring Tarzan to try and answer him. Vampire looks for the hook. That's another great Arcane Shift cancel. Between Worlds comes down for Flandre to very little value. It really only hits on the Vampire. Shanks flat forward for a Petrifying Gaze on the Xiaoxu. But where's the follow-up from AL? Here comes the Equalizer. So well positioned from Xiaoxu. The Twin Fangs from this Cassiopeia can't find that kill. HongQ does have to flash away from Tarzan. But JDG, it was all a gimmick. They just wanted to get the dragon, and they will secure it with nobody dropping.
Ooh, my heart is racing. Vampire does go down in that fight, so it is at least a 1 for Dragon, which is an important turn here for AL to get gold somewhere. What an engage, though, from the 0 and 3 Cassiopeia. Really the only miracle play that you can make in that instance. Tarzan has to be around the pit to try and find his way in. Once they commit to the fight instead, they needed to find more. You can't be doing both. Again, for AL, this is the problem that they've run into. They want to get everything on the map. They lose the dragon, and they end up getting some of the fight, but not as much as you maybe could if you full engaged. It really is just one of those moves where AL kind of gets 1,000 gold swing in their way, but they don't really gain any pressure on the map from the play that they just made.
At least, you know, with the gold they're going to get off this fight and the damage starting to scale, I think their damage dealers are hitting a pretty critical mass point, but we're going to replay a look back at Shanks going all out for this play, but even with how good it is, Kman, it was somewhat desynced, it felt like.
That's the thing, is that entire fight, Tarzan is in the pit fighting JunJia, and Shanks is going for this flash engage on Cassiopeia with no Vi in the area, and it's just, if you play as a unit, you're going to find so much more as this team. It doesn't feel like they're capable of doing that right now, and JDG, with the pressure that they generated from that play and the gold advantage that they have controlled this top river, which is a nightmare for an AL comp that basically needs to start in a good position.
Now it's becoming like a guessing game, right? When can we work our way into this river? How confident are we that JDG are just going to rip this Baron? Because, you know, it is a Varus comp, so Baron takes aren't necessarily the greatest, right? Came in, but a Fed Rumble and a Fury in the jungle, they definitely can shred through that Baron if they want to look for it. It's really gonna have to start emphasizing the side lanes to set up things for things like this Baron take, right? Where right now you see JDG top side, it's still pushing in pretty comfortably, and off that and spawning Flandre on the bot side, they're onto the Baron.
I mean, bare minimum, it forces AL to walk into them, and that's exactly what JDG want. They have so many tools to punish darkness, and AL is walking directly into that. This is even going down. They're going to be super late to this play.
Late? I don't think they're going to make it.
Nope, gone.
They don't. JDG, what a gut call there from JunJia. They wanted AL to come in and fight them, but they'll take the prize with no fight indeed. 5 members with Baron, and AL, all they're going to answer with, Kman, is a bot lane tier 1 turret.
Slayer, the point I was going to make before that play ended up happening was, oh man, Baron's actually so good for JDG because they can force AL to walk into them and they can basically get a free fight with Annie. Well, no fight necessary. Why not just take the Baron? That's the prize after all, and now you get to play the map even better. They still get to look for picks as they do in this jungle. AL can't even afford to be here.
The sweeper spots Tarzan trying to get a bit shifty over that wall to look for a flank, but yep, you called it. They bulk up his 5 once more, and AL are just completely uncomfortable. It seems like they are not willing at this point in the game to ever take a 5-on-5.
I mean, it's hard, right? Like,
it is,
this comp
but
is entirely...
they're going to have to, right?
Right, I mean, but the problem is that you've drafted a comp for yourself that relies on you holding space. You can't really effectively play Ezreal, Karma, Aurora without having control over the river, without having the team walk into you. Diving into a JDG comp is nearly impossible for the way that they've set up this draft. It's just playing towards a disadvantage. This 2.5 gold lead is much larger in actual effective combat stats than it is, you know, in terms of the gold that we're seeing on the screen. What we need to see from AL is them looking for these picks and trying to find those consistent engage patterns. If you can land it onto these immobile carries like the Varus or especially the Rumble early in these fights, you can still win. You just can't be passive.
All right. Oh, okay. Our observers, a little bit of a gimmick there. Usually when they picture a single ward, we see a teleport channel. That would have been a crazy flank, by the way. That was on enemy red buff.
Yeah.
But we're not going to see that flank manifest. There are a couple good wards here for Shanks to TP2 if he really wants to, but right now it's full castle up defense mode. Just trying to protect whatever turret they can. But a nice little mid-bot push here from JDG does net them that mid-tier 2 turret, and now they're going to move everybody over here towards the bot side. They really want to get this bot lane tier 2 down.
Yeah, if I'm AL, I am not losing the game over this bot lane tier 2. We'll see if JDG, you know, want to continue to be the aggressors in terms of this push. They still have Baron for 45 seconds. They have plenty of resources to commit to this if they want to try and go for it. 20 seconds on the Dragon, though. They're just going to use this bot lane tempo to get themselves into a position to potentially get to Soul Point.
Vampire, pretty worse for wear. You can see if you can find some sort of juicy fruit to try and replenish his health. Oh, right on tap there. He's got one waiting for him, so he'll be fine. And it looks like AL are going to make, you know, for once, for how passive they've been, Kman, this is a correct passive play. You don't lose this game on a bot lane tier 2 turret, and at 30 minutes, you do not lose the game for Soul Point. We lose the game for Soul. We don't lose it for Soul Point. So JDG, they get onto Soul Point here with 3 mountain drakes, 3 ocean drakes. They're all oceaned up.
Let me tell you, if you're worried about, oh man, they have so much poke on the other side. If I'm AL and I'm playing this poke comp, well, now I'm playing into 3 Ocean Dragons. Like, the poke is non-existent. It's gone. It's off the table. Like, that's also the worst-case scenario for anyone's Legend, having to play into a comp that can basically heal through all of your damage now. There's really not a lot of avenues back in here. Tarzan's going to have to find a Miracle Engage, and most notably, you're going to have to watch Flandre on the back ends of these fights. If you're able to get some priority targets, make it a 5v4, you're going to have a chance. But, again, we're looking at a 3.5k gold lead. I don't even think the game is that close. I think it's farther apart than the gold would indicate.
It's not like, again, there's a scaling factor that's really tipping us one way. And even if you wanted to make that argument right now for AL, their main scale threat in Shanks, he has no damage in this kit at this point. He's gotten all the protections. He's got the Seraph Shield. He's got the Roa fully stacked. He's got a Haunted Guy's Mask, which, you know, may signal something like Liamdres or Riftmaker. Those are the 2 that come off of my mind off this build path. But the main point I want to stress here, Kman, that's not like a huge damage injection. Shanks' Cassiopeia is not going to be a huge damage threat anytime soon with where his items are currently at.
And he is the carry. Like, let's be very obvious about how these fights are going to be won. You need this Cassio to step up and deal that damage. The dance is now going to happen around this top river. Baron's not spawning for another 2 minutes here, so Vampire just looking to establish that vision priority. I just want to give JDG so much credit. This is a team that has really consistently found weaknesses in the mid game, and in this one, no weaknesses to be found in terms of their aggression. They are punishing all of the mistakes AL are making.
Now they're right where they like to be. Late game, playing comps that stick together as 5. Friends strongest together sort of style here. As you mentioned, though, right now, it's all about controlling the vision around this Baron. Because if they can get this thing online, they can really start knocking down structures, or they just make a flash play right on top of Shanks. They send him in the bouncy house alongside Tarzan, but there's cease and desist recommit onto HongQ. Kill does not come through, though. JunJia is able to find that one and let the pack loose here. JunJia looking to hunt down his prey off to the side here. They don't necessarily need to over-push for anything else. They'll take the space and just reset back to that exact same scenario.
It's a 1-for-1, which is probably the best possible outcome here for AL. But Xiaoxu continuing to look aggressive. He didn't even use Equalizer in that fight, so still a big tool that is available. Some notable things that are now on cooldown, though. Annie Flash was burned in that exchange, which is really relevant for a lot of those scary, face checks that we're going to be seeing moving forward. We're getting a replay of exactly how this started. AL trying to control some of the vision in their area. Tarzan just saying, yeah, I'll queue over the wall, and that's the biggest mistake you can make it Vi. As Vi at this point in the game, just way too over-aggressive. Flandre tries to be able to capitalize, and Vampire does give his life to make sure that his mid laner can walk out alive, but they just don't have the damage right now. You noted it. Cassio's not online enough to be able to make plays like that happen.
The Riftmaker's completed, but again, we need that huge raw AP injection for this champion to really be able to churn through this front line, churn through a team that is threatening a 4 Ocean Soul in about a minute's 30 time. Baron is up here, and I'm starting to wonder how much JDG want to kind of wait to play for that really scary scenario of, all right, we've got Baron on one side of the map, there's Ocean Soul on the other. It's really fun to always watch how that push-pull happens. We'll see how much JDG are going to stall out for that window, because it's not too far away. Minute 15, JDG can either go for a second Baron of the game, or a 4 Ocean Drake Ocean Soul. That is going to be problematic for AL once we reach that point. And it seems like we're cruising right towards it.
Oh, woe is me. I have to choose between Baron and Ocean Soul when I'm playing into a poke comp. Oh, it's just it's the hardest thing to decide in the world. There's no wrong choice here. Wherever JDG put down their vision, they can hold control of that area incredibly efficiently. The problem is walking into a rumble is certain death. Tarzan's going to have to be a hero here. GA is completed. That is a massive spike, and it's probably the only chance AL have.
Coming back here from Gala. We have a fight starting to split off, fracture into different pieces. Xiaoxu puts some chunk damage into Tarzan. Flandre trying to hold the space closer up towards the Baron side, but JDG are making it pretty clear with their positioning that if we want to flip Baron for Ocean Soul, JDG take that trade. They take that trade all day.
All day long, they continue to control the entire river here. JunJia's untargetable, so he can play as aggressive as he wants.
Goes forward with the Between Worlds. Where's the rest of AL, though? They're going to jump on a Vampire with a really audacious dredge line. That's a freebie. That's some of JDG's really reliable engage tools down, but they're going to rely on the fact that even down a man, they're just going to control this space. They really want this Ocean Drake.
They really want to try and hold this. It's become very difficult for them. TP coming in. This is a 5v4.
5v4. HongQ holding onto that stun, trying to look even without flash. Tarzan is going to engage on a Xiaoxu. Has to go into the stasis. Yes, does come down. Re-engage on the Flandre on the backside. Oh my god! JunJia just erases him. Now he's releasing all the hounds, and he's picking off the stragglers. Tarzan looks for the re-engage, but JunJia's already found a double kill. HongQ off the board. Home flashing right on top of JunJia, and it's Shanks that finds the clutch kill. A blinking health bar be damned. AL win the fight, but Gala's the only one healthy enough to take a crack at the dragon.
An unbelievable fight for AL. I don't even know if it matters because they still are going to lose Ocean Soul, presumably here. Tarzan's in the area. He's going to make his way down. This is very playable. Nautilus also here, though.
Oh, TP coming from behind. This is going to be a 2-on-2. Gala, he's got to get off this dragon. There's no chance he can look for this. And Tarzan will back them off the Ocean Drake. Shanks TP's right back in. And now we're going to try that same song and dance, but JDG, they also aren't going to let this go quietly.
They have to give. There's no way you can contest this.
Oh, come on, man. Gumayushi fires an arrow at least.
Yeah, you know, you gotta at least try, but we're gonna get a replay on this insane play. It's a great initial engage from Flandre, but I don't know what this is from Vampire. He's trying to hook Shanks. It's a great sidestep, but why are we even dredge landing in the first place? No one can follow up. The Nautilus goes down for nothing at the start of this exchange. Even 4v5, I still think that this is a fight that theoretically JDG can win. Xiaoxu does a great job of popping the stopwatch at the perfect time. Tarzan goes super low, but it doesn't matter. Kael's dead!
All right, Gala. Maybe you saved the arrow for a good thing. One-shots Kael. Flandre tries to trap the Between Worlds just to back all of JunJia Gaming off. Shot Barrage does get HongQ pretty low, but he's got TP. And now we're roles reverse, Kman. It's JDG with the 5-man advantage. And look what sort of difference it makes. AL aren't even going to put up a fight here. The Baron
Tarzan's
is
going to look for a steal.
Yeah, it's got to be the Tarzan steal angle, right? TP comes back, HongQ fully healthy. Stasis comes
Great
out from Shanks.
stopwatch.
He needs a dredge line, but the Equalizer still burning him. He's right on top of the hot coals, and here comes JunJia looking for the assassination. Makes it with ease. Down goes Tarzan, throwing himself at JDG, but it's all about the wolf pack being released again for JunJia. Hope and Flandre can only kite back towards safety because the Baron pit is JDG's.
The dogs are howling here in game number 1. JunJia comes up massive as they're able to win a huge fight around the Baron. Flandre, even now trying to make a play happen. The action never stops in this game, Slayer. It just keeps going. It looked like JDG threw the game, and then they won the game back, and then they win a Baron fight, and then everything is just so chaotic. Unfortunately for Shanks, he is the one member of the team who cannot get caught in this area, and he gets hit by that dredge line. It's a huge find for Vampire. The Equalizer immediately dropped. Yes, you're able to stun up HongQ, but if Shanks goes down, you cannot win the fight. You don't have the damage. Tarzan has to dive in just to try and make anything happen at this point. JunJia is unleashed, and Hope is lucky to be able to get out with his own life, but the mistake comes through. The most consistent member of AL ends up costing them big in that team fight.
And you can see how much of a gap it is between those integral junglers. 3,000 gold lead for JunJia at this point. He's got 4.5 items. He's got a Serpent's Fang to ignore this Karma, ignore your Seraph Shields. This guy, if he gets access onto anyone on this team, there's no tanks, anyone, they are getting eviscerated. And I gotta give my hat off to Tabe once again, because there's just so many really easy, consistent ways to allow JunJia a single target to blow up with this comp.
100%. JDG are feeling comfortable. Vampire gets to tank anything as they walk in. They wanted bot lane pressure last time. They're going to get it with the...
How many cannons is that, Kate? We got 4 of them!
4 of them!
That's like low-key a naval... That's a naval base just walking around with AL right now, or JDG right now.
They don't even have to hit the inhibitor. That thing's going to go down in like 3 seconds with 4 cannons just 3 hitting. Tarzan trying to find an angle on the backline.
We lost 2. I want to see if we get up to 5. Oh, we lost 1. All right. Hope's getting rid of him. All right, the missile barrage attack from JDG is going to slow down, but as you mentioned, they got the cannon minions alone, got rid of the inhibitor themselves, and now JDG will look to try and hound onto this mid-tier 1.
Tarzan just barely doesn't have Guardian Angel up. That's massive for this fight.
Between Worlds again. Flandre just using these kind of as like zoning ults, wave clearing ults. Not a lot of value out of this Aurora's ultimate.
Oh, dredge line
there for Vampire. He's still just constantly hunting Shanks. And we've got our own little mini cannon setup going here in the mid lane. Once again, our cannon minions taking center stage. They're going to knock down the mid-tier 3 turret and take the inhibitor right behind that. Exactly what JDG came and looked for. And how poetic is this reset timer? They're going to reset with their Barons, and in less than a minute, another crack at Ocean Soul.
Perfectly maximized from JDG. They got kind of lucky with the GA timer as well, getting burned in that fight, as I pointed out. Tarzan cannot find that flank angle engage, and even the desperation play, if he doesn't have that Guardian Angel available, will have it up for this dragon fight, which is the most important of the game. AL have a way back into this, and it's winning this fight, getting Soul, and being able to really stabilize despite the fact that their base is broken open. You get those free combat stats, and it becomes harder for Rumble to break through. Shanks has to be the hero here.
TP's coming on both sides. They're trying to circumvent around this 5-stack. JunJia does need a Vault Breaker. Goes untargetable. Flandre off to the side again. Between Worlds, kind of just used to keep JDG at bay, but doesn't get a lot of valuable damage. And now look at the Ocean Soul. Look at the healing of this Endless Hunger. JunJia's already back up to 100.
Tarzan's on the flank angle, though.
Tarzan, he's got Gala, immediately flashes, but Flash 4 comes across from Flandre, down goes Gala. JunJia goes immediately right after Kael, finds that
Equalizer.
first kill. Hound's pursuit right on top of Hope, and HongQ's flashing after him. Hope goes down, it's JunJia again, stealing the show, and AL are gonna fall like dominoes. GA popped here for Tarzan, Shanks is way too low to even try and re-engage. JDG, fight is 5, and there's no damn way for them to lose.
JD Gaming are able to take the pivotal fight of this game, as Shanks will not be a survivor, as JunJia ends up chasing him down, or maybe not. Maybe he is able to get his way out.
We're getting a little wacky here, Kman.
We're getting a little wacky. HongQ's ending the game. Xiaoxu's killing the mid laner here. It's just chaos everywhere. JDG played the fight perfectly. Tarzan thinks he's found the engage angle, but it's JDG who turned everything around and ended up taking everything. HongQ.
Oh, HongQ. That proto bell got him out of the weirding, and he's able to kill off Flandre with the stun. HongQ, quiet in the stats, didn't talk too much about him, so you knew he had to put an outplay in to put a nice little ribbon, a red Cardinal JDG ribbon at the top of this present to their fans. A dominating mid-game into a powerful late-game win. 1-0 JDG.
Goodness gracious. JunJia was diving the fountain and picking up double kills at the end of the game.
Why not, man?
Absurdly dominant teamfight performance from JDG. What a fun game number 1. Both of these teams showed up and also had their own flaws. AL, their kryptonite comes back to bite them. Again, they just cannot be coordinated around these objectives. And JDG, a team that we were hoping would be more aggressive, would control the game on their own terms, absolutely did that in game 1.
You know, I said it towards the end of that game with that first, you know, we saw that Baron push like manifesting, but I maybe I feel like we might have done a bit of disservice. Like, I feel like the draft gap really showed up. Maybe it's just the nature of how that game went late, but I felt so bad for Tarzan in this draft, trying to work Vi with no secondary engage tools. And then you just look over at JunJia and he's like, guys, I need help getting in. Can you guys got me? It's like, yeah, bro, we got Shades of Corruption here. And he's stunned here. Well, we also got a Nautilus as well. He's got like 3 CC abilities. Is that good enough for you? And look what happened. JunJia ran wild this entire game.
I mean, he was an absolute monster. Like truly unkillable at the end of that game. Nefiri, as we know, can just snowball so many games out of control. And you're right, the engage angle was on their side. But I want to make it clear why that was the case. If you look at the comp, obviously they have way more engage down the stretch of the game. But AL should have the tools to get that lead in the early game. They should have the tools to be the ones making proactive moves. They should have won bot, and they didn't. They should have had Vi ult more in the mid game, and they didn't. It was the lack of proactive plays. It was the scaling that ended up really coming back to bite them, and it was the mis-execution. Big credit to JDG. They did phenomenal. They outplayed AL in these team fights, but it all really comes back to understanding what your role in the game is, which JDG did better at every level.
We really came into that game talking about how it feels like we're going to have those fights where everyone's like hopping over each other. Like, it's complete chaos because we got 2 diving junglers, a ton of engage on one side, a ton of peel on the other. But I think you really hit the nail on the head there. From
HongQ damage. Sorry, I just was
no,
Annie, 40,000 damage Annie game? That's what we're talking about here. I mean, you want to talk about a team effort. You said we didn't mention HongQ all that much. He outdamaged his Varus. Like, and Ezreal on the other side. That's absurd.
That is absurd. But you hit the nail on the head to me, Kman, when you said, you know, this was a really uniquely well-executed game from JDG. Because with all these engage tools we're talking about, it is really easy to kind of just, you know, take off the training guards, let loose, like, everyone look for their place. But we're going to see it in these highlights when we look back. They really exercise beautiful patience, especially Vampire. He had one bad dredge line. But outside of that, he was always like patiently waiting for AL to come into him, then look for the re-engage. It was the re-engages from JDG that always worked out.
This is where Nautiluses can really struggle on this patch and in this meta and with the way that things have developed, because all of these comps like to just go so far forward, use their engage to just try and find these proactive members, and if it doesn't work, you lose, and if it works, you win, and it just flips the game. You can make things so much more consistent by saying, hey, I trust my team, and I understand that once we're going backwards, they're going to make a mistake. This Vi is eventually going to go too far forwards. You're going to have someone like the Cassiopeia step too far up, and Vampire was always there to land a dredge line or two sometimes in team fights with that cooldown to be able to punish those mistakes. It's not about the plays that you are initiating. It's about the plays that you are punishing on the other side. Vampire understood that incredibly well in a very hard Nautilus game to play.
Incredibly difficult. Yeah, I think hats off goes to, I'm glad that it needs to be recognized that Vampire pilots this in a much unorthodox manner compared to Nautilus in a unfriendly meta. Great way to put it there, Kman. Except for, we're going to see one of them. One time, well, we like to give everybody like one pass. He had one, a bit audacious look. But again, you just watch through all these fights. It's always AL, desynced, looking for these engages. Tarzan, so headstrong. But this is kind of back to what I felt like JDG were so well poised to do when they made their run to our grand finals of Split 1. I used to constantly call them, like, my opinion, one of our best team fighting team in the LPL. That's what they really hung their hat on, especially during that playoff run. It's just it's when they're all synced together and approach team fights the same way. There are a few teams that are able to do it as well and really as consistently as I feel like JDG are.
I mean, they had a masterclass in this game at being able to find priority targets and not make mistakes. Shanks getting caught in that fight is really important. That was a Vampire play that, really ended up changing the game for them. And the player that we really haven't touched on that I think is a real case for player of the game alongside JunJia is Xiaoxu on the top side.
Yeah,
who was unbelievably strong on this Rumble. Those equalizers were perfect, including in that final fight, which ended up really sealing the deal for them. Really just a fantastic game all around. There was no weak link of JDG in this game. As a 5-man unit, they stepped up, outperformed AL, and really kind of proved that, hey, we were second in split number 1 for a reason. We were semi-finalists at first stand for a reason. Yeah, we've not been able to take down BLG, but we sure have been able to take down everyone else.
Everyone else pretty darn well. And they are looking around back into that very same form here. For AL, though, on the other side here, Kman, a lot of the same issues. I do think that, I don't know, we saw clear strengths in this draft, but, harping on again, like, this is a pick that Tarzan really hasn't leaned on a lot this year at all, not even this split yet up until this point. I felt like, while we did like the poke, we did like the mid-game power, this didn't feel like a draft I normally expect AL to go for it, and I feel like it kind of showed. We knew this was going to happen. Yeah, we definitely
saw it. Yeah, I mean, especially at the end of the game when this guy's 2v1ing people in their enemy fountain. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a pretty easy choice for player of the game. Again, credit to Vampire, credit to Xiaoxu, who I think were both incredibly relevant. HongQ doing the most damage in the game on Annie is incredible. But you're right. For anyone's legend, like when you're talking about the comp that you identify with them, it's not a comp like this where they don't really get to play slow or they don't have the same kind of control over objectives. There's no comeback mechanic on a comp like this. You really have to make those plays happen, and they didn't happen in this game. They were put on a timer, and that timer ran out on them.
Well, we've seen AL go cold to start a split, go on a torrential hot streak, and then back to being wishy-washy, and they are far from consistent, especially after this first game. But luckily, they've got a game 2. They've got whatever side they like, whatever pick order they would like on tap, and it's hard to understate how important this game could be. AL need a game 2 win, or they're still looking on the outside, looking from the outside in on the playoffs, and JDG are going to lock up a top 4 spot. All that and more, that big decisive game 2, coming to your guys' airwaves after this extended break.